Hi everybody, it's Chuck Gilmore. Power to Sing Live, number 137. And we're going to talk today about singing voice before and after puberty. This applies to guys and girls, so stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, let me show you this one. All right, so I want to show you this picture before we get started here. So there you go. So people ask, why do you do musical theater? So here's the answer. So no, this is a little shot of a scene in My Fair Lady where Alfred P. Doolittle is singing, "Girls, come and kiss me, show how you miss me, but get me to the church on time." So that's what that's all about. So anyway, welcome. Nice to have you here today, and we're going to talk a little bit about, this is something that comes up all the time. And Emmanuel, hi, Nuno, hello, nice to have you guys here today, and I hope that we have some girls that join us today too. I know this might feel a little exclusive, because the voice really goes through a big change for the guys. But today we're going to talk about what the vocal cords are like for all of us before, and then what happens during puberty, and how long does that last, and then what happens after puberty, and then what happens to our singing particularly, and how we can restore what was lost, right? How can we restore that upper voice that we used to have before the voice changed? And it's a big one for the guys. Girls, not as much, but there is a change for sure that occurs. So at any rate, that's what we're going to talk about today. And it really applies, for those of you who tune in, this really applies to the vocal type, primarily pulled chest, high larynx, because this is what happens to us guys. All right, so let me just make sure that I think everything is running well here. It looks as if I've got good sound and you can see me. So if there's a problem with the broadcast, let me know. Meanwhile, I remember waking up one day, and I don't really remember the specific day, but I do remember waking up in the morning and starting to talk, and the voice it just kept cracking, and then throughout the day it would crack, and I wish I had a recording of my voice before it changed. When I was a kid, and we had a record player, and the record player would play, I don't even know if it would play 33s. We had 45s, and I don't know where we got this, if it was my mom's recording or whether they bought it for us or what, but we had a little 45 record, and it was, I think it may have been somebody like the Kingston Trio, and we listened to "Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley." I'm not sure if that's the exact name, but that's the chorus. And my brother and I listened to that 1,000 times in a day. I mean, we just listened to it over and over again, and we'd sing it over and over again. And now that I think back on it, we must have been singing an octave higher, because these are men's voices singing, and we were just little kids. I mean, we were young, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. And my brother and I are 18 months apart, and my parents had 3 more children. But the next older sibling was 6 years younger than me, and then I have another, that's a daughter So my sister was born, I guess it's more like 7 years difference, 6 or 7. Is that right? Yeah, about 7 years difference. And then I have a brother that's 10 years younger and a brother that's 12 years younger. So there were the two older boys. I'm the oldest, and my brother 18 months younger. So it's like kind of like two different families. So we grew up together, and we sang all the time. And we listened to Tom Dooley, and then it seems like on the other side of it was something about oh, the EIE was a-rising, and the tank was getting low, and I fear we'll never get a drink till we get to Buffalo, till we get to Buffalo. I can remember the chorus, you know. I can't remember the name of the song. It's something about the Erie Canal, and that's the EIE was a-rising, and that's the Erie Canal was a... Anyway, so, hey, hi, Jason. And Jason Marshall, I can ask you something. You bet. Nuno, I'm 15, almost 16 years old, and notice a difference in my lows and highs, although my lows aren't that low, and my lowest is E2. So, hey, you kind, what's up with you? Nice to see you. Nuno says it's hard for me to do it. You kind said I actually improved since the last time. Jason Marshall asks, are there any exercises to sing more powerfully? Yes, Jason. Let me talk about those in a second. Ukine asks, Nuno says, Ukine, are you male? Jason says, like you sing really loud. Jason kind of yelling while singing, but not like screamo. I don't have any exercises for that, Jason. I have exercises that will develop the power in the voice, but I don't have exercises that will help you kind of yell while you're singing. Nuno, yes, I am, but I am a tenor as well. All right, so we got some good conversations going here. So let's talk a bit about, number one, what is the voice like before we go through puberty. Now, puberty for guys and girls, hey, Thiago, he says he's 19 and still affects you. Yeah, so before our voice changes, our vocal cords, the diameter of the cord structure is roughly like the diameter of a dime, okay? So I guess the length of them would be like a dime. When we go through puberty, which varies from person to person, I would say it's probably like a bell curve. There's the general group of us probably happens, between 13, 14, 15, that time period, probably the majority. There's a few who come before that, that would be like 12 or 11 or 12, and that's a few of them. And then there are those who wait even longer. Maybe they're 16, 17 before their voices change. I've got a friend in my neighborhood here who is 16 years old and driving, and his voice is still up here. So it varies for all of us. For me, it occurred somewhere around 13. I think I was in high school, or in junior high school, 7th, 8th grade time period. I remember that I started to get a mustache when I was about in the 8th grade, and this is right around the time my voice was changing. Now, you could see a picture of me when I was in high school, in the thumbnail. That's me, and that was a cast picture for Carousel, and I was 17 at the time of that picture. And the year before, I had a full beard when I played Camelot. So for me, and before that, I don't really know what my vocal range was. I don't really remember. I think there were times that I sang alto. And I sang in grade school. We had a nice music program where we would always, a couple times a week, go to a music class and sing. And then we'd put on recitals and not recitals, but we put on concerts for parents, at Christmas time and Easter and other holidays and so forth. And so I sang then, and I sang in junior high in a choir in 8th grade, and sang in all the choirs in every year of high school. I sang in oratorio choir in college. So when before my voice changed, it was a typical young boy's voice, and it was up here. And to talk to girls, they were up here too. So it's all of us guys. All of us have the same kind of voice. I really do wish I had a recording. And at the time, the Beatles had come out, and so we were singing Beatles songs and the Beach Boys, and we travel on a bus. I helped our 6th grade. We did the school crossing. The boys did, and so at the end of the year, they invited the whole city in St. Joseph, Missouri. We went busloads of boys to go see the Kansas City athletic baseball team in Kansas City. And on the way up and on the way down, on the way down, I guess on the way back from the game, we sang the whole way. In fact, it was so remarkable that the word got back to the teachers, and they invited us to come in and sing as a group for like the principal and a couple of the teachers sat in, and we just sang our ba 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 baran ba 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 baran ba. We'd sing the Beach Boys, we'd harmonize. It was just a bunch of us guys that were singers, and we did a lot of Beatles songs and so forth. Well, we're all singing. I had to be singing high. I don't remember it, but it's before our voice changed. So what happens then when we go through puberty? The vocal cords, they go from about the diameter of a dime to a quarter for the guys. For the girls, there is a change also, but it's the difference between a dime and then the diameter of a nickel. So it's quite a bit less, so they don't get as long or as thick or heavy as the boys. And so for us guys, then the larynx grows bigger, so you can see this large bony or the cartilage protrusion in the neck. The Adam's apple starts to get prominent, and right behind the Adam's apple is where our vocal cords are. Plus, then there's beards and hair on the chest and armpits and all this stuff. Hair and armpits for the girls, and they're developing their reproductive organs, and as all the guys. So we're going through these hormonal changes, right? So the hormonal changes can last for years. The voice might change in a year, be completely through, but then there's these hormonal flooding of hormones through the whole system for all during the teens, and so that's going to affect us. The girls start menstruating, and that affects their vocal cords. Their cords will swell during the menstruation time. So that's all different for us. And so girls have their own particular challenges. Vocally, there are some, they do have like the swollen cords every month and other things that are a little bit harder for them, the bridge perhaps. But for the guys, it's murder, right? You guys who are here today, whose voices have gone through this change, 2 months, 3 months ago, you're singing, that's really low for you. And so it's then when these vocal cords get longer and thicker, there's a heaviness about the voice, and now we start losing the upper, so we can't get as high. So we start noticing that we're not able to go as high, and it feels like there's like a ceiling on our voice. And then now we're able to sing ah, ah, ah. Now our voices can go lower than we've ever done before. And the girls, same way, their voices start to get lower. Often the voice can drop to an alto and maybe even a contralto. Some girls can go very low also. There's a certain time, like in junior high, where the girls can sing tenor, and the boys are still singing alto. So some girls can sing quite low, and their voices will settle into a lower register than what they were before puberty. But for the guys, we keep going. Ah, 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 ah. And now we're down to places that we never, ever had been before. Ah. Now I know in high school my voice got pretty deep. And so I was put into the bass section of all my choirs and madrigal groups. And I remember being able to hit the F and the E on early Saturday morning rehearsals. E, E, E2. I don't know if I had the heft or the kind of the weightiness at that time. I maybe did. It doesn't seem like I did. It seemed like I was just barely able to get those notes. And that's really occurred maybe the last 20 years or so. So after puberty, then for the men, the voices get the diameter of the vocal cords reach at about the diameter of a quarter. Now they're thicker and heavier. And they go lower. Our voices go lower. And the girls maybe drop a little bit. Others are don't drop much at all, and they continue to expand their range upward. So, and some of the younger girls that I've taught, my goodness, they can almost go off the keyboard in the piano. So now, when the young men voices change, it's very difficult for them to keep going higher. And at that point, a lot of times it's already cracking when they're talking, but for sure when you're singing, it just breaks into falsetto, or it just stops. A lot of us won't. I wouldn't go any higher than the E above middle C. If I did, I had to yell, ah! Or I had to go in the falsetto. So I could do that. But then I sounded like I did when I was a little boy. And that didn't work on stage. So I couldn't do that and be a lead singing role in high school. If I had to sing an F above middle C. Sorry. If I had to sing the F, that was for tenors, I thought. And so I felt... well, here's what I thought. I just thought that my voice changed in such a way that I could only sing to the E above middle C. And in that, I was mistaken. What had happened is that, yes, in chest voice, I could only sing to the E. And that, barely. It was a real strain for me to get to E. I know that I was slightly under, oftentimes, pitch-wise, just to get to E. And in retrospect, I realize it's because of the depth of my voice, I really was starting to, I should have been bridging lower, like the A, B flat, B, and C, middle C area. So by the time I hit E, it was just, it was just virtually impossible. So I didn't know anything about bridges at the time. All right, so let me ask you guys who are here today, who are participating, can I get your attention for a minute? Has your voice stopped changing, or do you see that it's still changing? Let me know in the comments below. It's changing still, or it's stopped changing. In other words, you've been able to hit the low E for, 6 months, or, you can pretty well know what your low notes are. Maybe it's only low as an A, an A2, or a B flat 2. And that would probably indicate you're trending more towards tenor. Or maybe it's a G. That would be more in the baritone range. So let me know. I'd be really curious. Let me see if there's anything here that I need to address. There was a question about singing exercises to sing more powerfully. And I would recommend everyone to, first of all, determine what your vocal type is. And that's going to be included in the upper corner of the video. There'll be a card there, that it will say get your vocal type. And it's a free PDF. Download the PDF. It takes you to a vocal test. It takes you to the videos. So you take the vocal test, submit it, and then there's an algorithm. You count up your answers, and then you can see what your vocal type is. And then you go to there's links to videos about your vocal type. Now I'll say today, I'm going to guess the young men who have just gone through vocal changes are going to be, they're going to flip into falsetto, but why? Why are they having to crack or break or flip? And it's because the larynx comes up. So your vocal type would be pulled chest, high larynx. But take the test and verify that. It's possible that you're doing it really, really breathy, and that changes everything. So you might be light chest, no chest. And in some cases, the way you handle things in the bridge might be a flip falsetto. So take the vocal test, then watch the videos about your vocal test, then download the exercises for your vocal type. Now, why? So now we're talking about what happens to the voice after puberty. Everything has changed. It's gotten deeper. In many instances, some of the girls may be actually able to sing higher, and there's more body and strength in their voice. There are many instances where the girls will pick up much more in the bottom of their voice. They're going to have much deeper quality in their voice when they go through puberty. It's not going to be quite the same, though, as the guys, but it's still there, and they still have to deal with these changes. One of the things that everyone's going to notice is this new area of the voice. Guys, the top, you think it is the top, is not the top. It's the end of chest voice. It's still possible to get into head voice. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And so, Jason Marshall, this is where I'll tell you about the exercises that are going to help you develop more power in your voice, are going to be the exercises that help you get through your bridge. So that way you don't have to yell. You can actually sing with power and don't have to yell with power. You can only do that so long before you injure your voice. Now, we tend to think, if you don't know this information, you might think that you've now reached the top of your voice, and like me, you grew into a bass, or you grew into a baritone or a tenor. Either way, the tenors don't feel the top very much. They feel it in the second bridge, and so they can still The problem is they'll oftentimes pull chest up to the second bridge because they're a higher voice and they can do that. But for us baritones and tenor or basses, we really get stuck at that E or F sharp above middle C, and it just feels like the top. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not at the top of your voice. Ladies, you're not, the break that's in your voice now at the A above middle C, A, B flat, B, C, which is the C5, an octave above middle C, is not the top, it's the bridge. So some of you will say, well, that's my break area. No, that's the bridge area. And yes, your voice tends to break. Guys, it feels like the top, but it's not the top, it's the bridge area. Your voice tends to stop or get choked off, or, it's a horrible feeling. You just don't know what, I didn't know what to do, and so I wouldn't go any higher. I didn't think that I could do anything, but you can. There's a way to now approach your voice. It's got to be different. Now there's something called this bridge. It's a transition from your chest voice up into your head voice. And you can get back these upper notes. Not all of them, but many of much of the upper notes that are written now for men, you can sing. And so we're going to talk about what are the exercises that are going to get you through that bridge area. Most of you who have joined me today already know that. Thiago says he's 19. All right, so there's lots of conversations going on here. Let me see if I can pull in a couple questions. What's your lowest note? My lowest note is probably predictably a low E. Now I can tell right now that I'm getting a little bit of reflex kind of response. So it's a little fuzzy down there now. And that's not my real strong solid E, but if I were singing in a choir, I could probably do that, but it would not be. So my larynx is probably a little up, and I've got a little bit of just a little bit of reflex going. However, E, so the E2 is pretty much my low. Earlier today, I could hit the E flat, and the D, and the D, and I can do that. But I don't want to, anybody can scratch into it or do a fry, But to be able to really vocalize down there, sometimes I can get the D. Predictably, E is where I kind of the bottom for me. And so, but my upper, I can vocalize on an E5 too, but let me backtrack a little bit, because I couldn't do that until after I was 43 years old, because I didn't know I could do it. The benefit you guys have is So Thiago says, is it easier or harder to gain high notes after puberty? Before puberty, it's not hard at all. Not really. After puberty, you have to know the technique to get high notes. If you know and understand the technique and do those exercises correctly, then it's not that hard to increase your range. It takes a while to be able to sing songs with it, but I would say it's still challenging, but doable for everyone. It's like learning to run fast. Nuna says, my E2 isn't very stable, like my lowest stable is probably G2 or an A2. Yeah, and so Nuno, if you're, I think I saw where you're going on 16 or something like that, give it some time. It's still, here's the thing, you guys and girls, your voices are changing every day. Maybe the note's going to remain the same, but let's just say you get a flood of hormonal something running through your system, and it's going to affect your vocal cords. So you wake up the next morning, it's going to feel different. that's what we do. That's what happens between 12, 13 years old and 18, 19, sometimes a little bit older. I've had several guys who I taught when they were in their teens, and then they were left for a while, and then came back, and now they're early 20s, maybe 21, 22. It's so much different. Their voices have stabilized, and it's so much easier for them. I doubt that makes you feel any better, guys, but it will eventually become predictable again. The voice will become predictable again. And right now, it feels very, very unpredictable. Very unpredictable. However, you can learn to bridge. And anyone who's been following me, if you'll go back just a couple weeks, you'll see a comparison of a young man who was 15 9 months ago. He's 16 now, and listen to the exercises that we do, and you can hear his progress. Still working on it. Now he's got a voice that goes as low as mine, and maybe even a little bit lower. And so it's really a big change for him. Nuno says but my E2 isn't stable. Okay, yeah. Ukine says young boys are almost all countertenors. Well, I would just say mostly young boys are sopranos and altos. That's the easiest thing to say. They have a soprano alto voice before the puberty, as we all did. And so there's probably a few exceptions, like everything, but most of us guys were altos, sopranos, and altos of some sort. Nuno said, I don't know if it's normal, but as my lowest improves, so do the high ones. Yeah, so that's I think that's pretty common, Nuno. You'll see your ranges continue to expand on both sides. All right. Hey, Chuck, would you consider talent sufficient for being a good singer? This is Suka. Hi, Suka. Would you consider talent sufficient for being a good singer, or do you bring training, practicing daily into conversation as well? Suka, let's change the topic. Let's not talk about singers. Let's just say it's a basketball player or a tennis player. Let's take a world-class basketball player. Everybody remembers Michael Jordan. Well, any number of superstars you can think of. Did they practice? Or did they just rely on their natural talent, their natural gift that they had? I think you'll find in every instance the really top-tier athletes, no matter what their gift and talents are, they trained and practiced religiously, faithfully, rigorously, devotedly practiced. And you'll find that to be the case with singing also. Like 5 months ago, my highest was, okay, all right, so let me see here. See if I got any other questions here. If I were to watch all your videos in the playlist, this is Omar, in order that you have, what kind of position would I be in to know how to be a good singer? So, Omar, if you went from episode 1 to like episode 103 or 109, I can't remember what the end, you will have a tremendous amount of good information, including exercises, and so yes, you will be in a very good position to be a good singer. Now, here's the caveat: you have to do the things that I say, and you have to do them right. You have to do the exercises as I demonstrate them, and download the things, and and listen and practice them as I've demonstrated. And they'll be a tremendous benefit to you. Nico, when I got through puberty, I lost that power of singing up top. Feels like either I lost my mix or I just forgot how to sing. Yeah, Nico, it's a different world. It is a you can't sing up there. I couldn't sing up there. I couldn't sing up where I did when I was younger. All right, so what do we do then? So the question is from Sabrina. How do you combat nerves when you're trying to improve your voice or during performances? So that's a little bit off topic, but Sabrina, it's really important. And here's what you do. You focus very intensely on the words of your song. So you take every word in that song and ask yourself, what does it mean to you? What does that word mean to you? What does that sentence mean to you? What feeling does it create in your heart and mind? You want to immerse yourself so completely in the song so that when you stand up to sing, you're not thinking about anything else other than and feeling other than the emotions of this song. You have to be careful. I mean, if I get too emotional, then if I start crying, I can't sing. So I can only go so far that way. But you've got to put yourself into the song and share that with the words of the song, sharing yourself, sharing your feelings, your emotions, and forget about who's out there. That's going to be the number one way to overcome nervousness, is to devote yourself to the lyrics, to the understanding of what the song is saying, what it means to you and what it means to others, and identify the feeling or make up a story in your mind about your song that you can relate to, and then sing. That's the fastest, best, easiest way to get over being frightened. And we all have those moments. And it's usually because our minds wander from what we're doing. All right, so a couple other comments here. All right, so sorry. There was a question here about where is the link to the PDF. In the description below, there's a link, and I think that once this video is uploaded, there'll be a card that you can click on and also find it there. So in the description below the YouTube video or in the card. All right. Omar, I hope I got your questions answered. Sabrina, did that help? It sounds simple, but it does take work. It takes work to really focus in on your lyrics, the lyrics of the song. But if you'll do that and give your heart and soul to your song, everything else will fall into place. Joseph Schallenberger says, my voice starts to get really tight when I sing higher. Yep. All right, so first thing we have to do is reestablish our voices in that area of the bridge. So we've got to connect the tone. We can't sing it like, ah. That's a false voice. It's called falsetto. It's not a real voice. The vocal cords have relaxed so much that you can't, you don't have the same, you lose the bottom. There's no chest presence there. The tone is disconnected from the chest, and now all you've got is this airy, breathy falsetto. It's the same thing for girls. So first thing we got to do is connect the tone. So I'll give you a couple exercises to do that. So you put your fingers here, make a frown, and then put your fingers in the crease of the frown, and then lift up. When you're saying and that's with that bubble. Now, guys, you start down here. The boys do. Just concentrate on keeping that bubble going. And you're all the way through the bridge. Now, you notice that I didn't say, it didn't crack. I didn't let it crack, even with that bubble. You can't let that happen. Now, if it starts to crack, then what you do is you stand up and you bend over and look right down to the floor. Be right halfway over, 90 degrees over, when that is at the highest part of the scale. Bend over and do it, and that'll connect it. If you can't do the bubble, try the tongue trill. Okay? Do the same exercise that way. And that's going to start that's going to help your nervous system feel, oh, wait a minute, I can sing that high. My tone can go that high without it cracking or breaking and without straining or reaching. So some of you guys said it jams up. Yeah, that's what happens after we go through puberty. So you've got to reestablish that connection from the low voice up to the high voice without straining. Here's another exercise. Now, ladies, yours would be here. Now, you're not necessarily trying to go higher as much as you're trying to get through this area without cracking or breaking or without straining. Same thing for you, ladies, with that bubble lip. It's going to reestablish that area of your voice that wants to break. You can start getting through there without it cracking or breaking or straining. Very, very important first step. Another way of doing it that's a little more like you talk or a little bit using words, because we don't have lyrics for brrr, right? Nay, 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 nay. Nay. So you do a little nay, nay, nay. Not very loud, more of the soft side, and do it a little bit funny. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. If you can, guys, don't do it so hard. Do it lightly, but don't let it crack in the falsetto. You want to just skim the top of the vocal cord. Don't do it so hard that you're getting so deep into it. Nay, nay, nay. It's hard to do it that way. We're reestablishing this thing that you lost when your voice changed. Nay, 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 nay. All right? Same thing, ladies, on the top. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Same thing, ladies. Reestablishing that little area of the bridge of your voice. That's the transition from chest to head. You want to go easy, go light with that nay, nay, nay. Now, there's another thing you can do. I find that many young men have a real hard time with nay, nay, nay. So another approach is to do it with a dopey gee. Gee, 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 gee. So you do it kind of with a yawn. Oh, it pulls the larynx down. Oh, you can see it drop when I yawn. Oh, or another way of doing it is just think of like a cartoon character, like a Yogi Bear or something like that. or deputy dog. So you would say or rather duh, not just regular duh, but duh, duh, and you can see it drop when I say duh. You want to take that dopey sound, and instead of saying duh, say gee, gee, and you can see it drop, gee. We want to just keep that larynx down as you do the notes as they go up. You can see how it's staying down. Now listen, if I keep it down, it goes hooty. And put ooh on your lips, it's even easier. Now, if I lose that, look what happens to my larynx. Up, it went up. It's staying down. Well, look what happens if I keep. So that hooty sound is an indication the larynx is you're keeping the larynx down. So always, so that upper, as you go higher, keep that hooty feeling. And stay dopey on the way down too, because the larynx will come up. And what happens when it comes up? It cracks. Or and on the way down it'll crack too. All right, so there's 3 really, really great exercises to reestablish the connection that you lose when you go through puberty. Ladies, the same principle for you. You got to keep that larynx down, girls. So by keeping that larynx down and staying hooty, you start to establish this ability to go through the bridge, and that with a connected tone, and that starts to open up your upper notes. Okay, 3 really awesome exercises. I think I did those in the last video. I talked about how to increase your range, guaranteed to increase your range, but they're so effective because they help you get through the bridge. Okay, so we've talked about what happens. So what the vocal cords are like before. We've talked, they're small, like the diameter of a dime for all of us. The girls, they get large as like the diameter of a nickel, and for the guys, the diameter of a quarter. And so we've got this big, thick, vocal cord now that we've got to work with, and that it basically cuts us off from the upper notes that we used to have when we were children. And now that we've gone through puberty and our voices have changed, we have to use some of these special exercises to help us regain the upper notes that we used to have. Only this time they're going to be more powerful because we're not going to sing them as little boys. We're going to sing them as young men or old men like me. All right, so let me just, what's our time here? We're getting to the point where we're going to have to close. Let me see if I can address some of these other questions that we haven't addressed yet. It can damage, so singing when you're sick, it's bad. So someone asked, Thiago said, should I do those exercises when I get sick? If it's possible if it's possible and you can avoid it, I wouldn't sing when you're sick. Now, if not just if you've got a mild cold or a little allergy or something that's not severe, but if you're really sick, then I would probably wait a few days for the sore throat to stop. And, if the throat is sore, I just wouldn't do it. You can damage your voice. So that's, I suppose you could sing if you're sick and your throat is okay. or even if you have a stuffy head, stuffy nose, yeah, so you can sing. You can do these exercises. But if you've got a sore throat and the vocal cords or the roof of the mouth are sore, I wouldn't try it. I wouldn't sing. Wait till it clears up. Give it a few days and then come in and sing. So Nico says, so taking your test for vocal types, and I'm sometimes applicable for all your questions. I can do a heady falsetto voice or a chesty. No, so what you want to do, Nico, is not going. Don't do it in falsetto. I mean, what you want to do is you just do this. And if you start then and you go back and listen to it, and the answer to the questions, yeah, I was starting to feel like I was yelling as I got higher. Well, that's going to take you to pulled chest, high larynx. If I said, well, the larynx came up and I went and I cracked. So why did the larynx? It's so the larynx is rising. So you answer the question. Now, sometimes you'll say, well, I cracked or I flipped in the falsetto. And that's where the computer was not going to help you with this. You're going to have to, you may have to send that one to me. Because there are some people who just say, and I would say probably that's, a flip falsetto. They just let go. And there are others who say, well, it flipped also, but it flipped because they pulled the chest voice higher and higher, and finally it had to crack and break. That's kind of a little bit of a distinction between causes, which the computer, I can't ask you why it happened. You can only report what happened. And so just report what happened and then look at the results. But don't do it in falsetto unless that's the way you sing. If you're always singing in falsetto, then yeah, do it in falsetto. And your vocal type will be flip falsetto. I doubt that that's what your real voice is, but if that's the way you're singing, we got to fix that, because that's never going to work. So just do your best. Do your voice do the test as natural as you do. And so if that's all you do is break into falsetto, then do that. I can do a heady falsetto. How do I answer your questions in this case? So Nico, do them as well as you can in your regular voice, and then answer the questions. It's that simple. Do them as well as you can in your regular voice, and then answer the listen to the recording. Go back and listen, and then answer the questions. Emmanuel says, I have a question. Is it okay to work on first and second bridge at the same time? Emmanuel, it's a waste of time, I think, to do the second bridge if your first bridge is not going well. So really get the first bridge down well, and then the second bridge is going to come really fast. But yeah, if your exercises take you into the second, that's okay. But I wouldn't do that as a major goal. The major goal is E, F, F sharp, G, A flat. Get those down perfect, and then you'll be able to sing. When those are down perfect, then the A, B flat, B, and C sharp is going to be a piece of cake for you. So don't lose focus. The first bridge is the critical one. Now that also depends on whether you're a high tenor. So if you don't feel the first bridge, then the answer is yes. I have a lot of men students I've had several men students who are high tenors, and they just feel very little. Now, this is where you probably need a teacher, because in those cases, they were just pulling chest in the first bridge. So we still have to focus on the first bridge. So forget what I said. Stay with the first bridge and make sure you're bridging and not pulling your chest through that. Even if you're a gifted tenor, Gifted tenors oftentimes will pull their chest voice through E, F, F sharp, and wonder why they crack on the B or the B flat, or maybe even the A. It's because they really haven't bridged. They've just been pulling their chest voice up. So first bridge, it's just so critical. Then when that's perfect, go on to the second. Thiago says, "You're so amazing. Thank you." Well, thanks. You started exercise. I started your exercises 2 weeks ago, but this week I'm sick. Yeah, so be patient. You'll get it. Thanks, Nico. Landa, Thiago is in falsetto or head voice. Don't know what that conversation is. All right, any others? Let me see here if I can, if I've missed something here. Welcome on answering the questions. I'm doing my best here. I know some of these questions are being discussed between you, and that's great. My lowest note is G2 since February, so I think my voice stopped changing because February I'm doing vocal lessons to sing higher since February. Yeah. So Thiago, if you're at a G2, you're probably around a baritone, I'm guessing. Depends on the upper notes you have, but or your voice is still changing. It's hard to know for sure, but okay. Landa says I'm 16 girl, and my chest voice is C sharp 3 to G4. G4 to head voice is G4 to G5. Okay, Landa. Yeah, so Landa, you'd want to focus in on the A above middle C. A, B flat, B, and C, C sharp area. Those are the areas where these exercises will help you bridge so that you don't have to pull the chest voice up, and so you can transition from the chest into the bridge and into your head voice with a connected tone, and you don't have to use falsetto. All right, you guys. It looks like we've kind of covered the majority of these questions here. I think it was Jason Marshall who asked about exercises to gain power in your voice. I don't have anything I don't teach singers how to yell when they sing, but the exercises that we talked about today and the exercises for your vocal type will increase your ability to sing more powerfully in your mix, in the middle, and in the head voice for guys and girls. All right, thanks everybody. It's time to call it, and we're almost to the top of the hour. Thanks for being with me today. It's a topic that every male who wants to sing goes through in a big way. Every female who sings experiences similar changes, maybe not as severe or as impactful as the guys, but those are there. Will you do a video about whistle register? Landa, I don't really, I don't really teach whistle or how to do whistle. I can do it by kind of doing a backwards sound, but I don't know exactly what you mean by whistle. Are you talking about just like a very high head voice? Or are you talking about the that kind of thing where it's, off the charts? So I probably, frankly, Landa, won't be doing a video about whistle, at least not in the near future. Maybe in some years down the road when I see if it's making a difference for to help people sing really well, I probably would. But so far in all my experience, I've never had anybody in an audition ask me to do the whistle voice, or seen that required. I know there's some singers who kind of do that kind of thing, and I think that's really interesting. And maybe they're going to build their career around it, but that's just something I'll leave to somebody else. All right. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being with me today. Thanks for all your participation. Some awesome comments. A lot of help going on between each other. And thank you for doing that. And the thing that I want you to remember is you can reestablish that voice, that head voice, and you reestablish it by focusing in on the bridge. And once you get that area down, then the head voice opens up. The other higher bridges come into play, and you're able to do all of that. And it's possible. You're not locked out. But it is challenging, young men particularly, and you young ladies who are in your teens, it can be pretty challenging, but it gets better. And the exercises that we're talking about here and these other exercises for your vocal type, which you can download the PDF to get your vocal type in the description below or up in the card up here. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing. You can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. See you inside the next one.